go. All right. Did we have to wake you all up from your nap already? Is there a mid-morning nap going on? Well, good morning and welcome to our council meeting. It is great to have everyone. We have a full day of activities, including here introducing our friends very soon from the USS Wichita. So we're going to call the meeting to order. And with us this morning is Reverend Debbie Garrett of Open Door Homeless Resource Center to provide an invocation. Following that invocation, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us for both of those. Reverend, good to have you.
Most gracious Father, we welcome you into our meeting place today. We thank you for every person here. We thank you for waking us up this morning, fully clothed and in our right minds. We thank you, Lord, for our health and strength. We thank you, God, for your loving arms of protection that surround us. Lord, we ask that you forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. Remove all bitterness, resentment, and unforgiveness from our hearts, Lord. Remove all the clutter from our minds in the name of Jesus. I ask, God, that you bless our city council leaders. We thank you for trusting them to make the right decisions about the communities in which we live and serve. I pray that our city council leaders work together with love and respect for each other and their ideas. I pray the decisions that will be made here today will impact our communities in a positive way. Lord, I ask that you continue to provide and protect the men and women that work for the city of Wichita, especially our police officers that put their own lives on the line to keep our streets safe. Place a hedge of protection around them and their families. Lord, help us to remember the less fortunate and those that lost their lives and the survivors from Hurricane Dorian. The Bible says, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." All these things I pray in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Garrett. That was perfect, and what a great morning to certainly have the pledge with our friends here. This morning, we have approval of the minutes of September 3rd, 2019. Any changes or corrections? Seeing none, I move that we approve those meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Cast your vote. The motion passes unanimously. We have some proclamations this morning. Councilmember Fry, do you want to read these again today?
You'll do fine, sir.
Our first proclamation is for National Gear Up Day, and so if Corrine Nilsson, Diana Carball, and Rachel Rhodes want to come up with Gear Up, 2 out of 3. Yeah. So we have a proclamation here for you that reads, Proclamation of the City of Wichita, Kansas, founded in 1870. Whereas in 1998, Congress established a federally funded discretionary grant known as Gear Up, gaining early awareness and readiness for undergraduate programs, which is designed to increase the number of low-income secondary students who are prepared to enter and succeed in post-secondary education. And whereas Wichita State University was awarded a 6-year state Gear Up grant in 2002 and 2009, and a 7-year state Gear Up grant in 2015, and a 7-year partnership Gear Up grant in 2018. And whereas Wichita State University Kansas Kids at Gear Up and Hayesville Gear Up are 2 of 161 Gear Up programs nationwide that currently provide college preparatory services to over 708,000 disadvantaged youth. And whereas the City of Wichita is committed to providing comprehensive educational opportunities through teaching, scholarship, and public service. And whereas Kansas kids at Gear Up and Hayesville Gear Up at Wichita State University serve over 3,250 students each year across the state of Kansas with, wow, that's a big number, $4.1 billion in federal support funding each year and matching kind partnership support. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jeff Longwell, Mayor of the city, along with the Wichita City Council, do hereby proclaim September 25th, 2019 as National Gear Up Day in the city of Wichita, and encourage all citizens to remember the contributions of Wichita State Gear Up staff, teachers, advisors, mentors, and partners who help make the dream of higher education a reality for all students of Wichita, Kansas. We have some extra copies here, and we'll turn the podium over to you.
Not much to say, but thank you.
If you could just teach Brandon Johnson to be so brief. Our next proclamation is for the United States Navy Week, and we have Admiral Nancy LaCour, Vice Commander, U.S. 6th Fleet of the USS Wichita. If you want to all join me, and you're all welcome to join us up here. Show your support. Great to have you all. And the proclamation from the City of Wichita reads, whereas the City of Wichita is honored to have the presence of the United States Navy in our community. And whereas the United States Navy is instrumental in ensuring the safety and security of $11.3 billion in annual exports from the state of Kansas. And whereas this inaugural Wichita Navy Week features special events and programs in Wichita and Hutchinson to increase the community's knowledge and understanding of their Navy and its global mission. Whereas this inaugural Wichita Navy Week features representatives from the second namesake vessel of the city, the littoral combat ship USS Wichita. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jeff Longwell, the Mayor of the City of Wichita, along with the Wichita City Council, do hereby proclaim September 9th through the 15th of 2019 as United States Navy Week in the City of Wichita, and encourage all citizens to remember the service and sacrifice of our nation's sailors, both past and present. And I will turn it over to our Admiral, Rear Admiral, and let you share the podium. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Longwell. Thank you so much for your hospitality in hosting Navy Week. This is the inaugural Navy Week here in Wichita, and I'm quite honored to be the Navy's ambassador. The Navy's here to teach folks about what we do in the Navy, what types of jobs are available in the Navy, and why the Navy's mission in securing the seas is important to you in Wichita. So I look forward to seeing you all throughout the week and hopefully at the fairgrounds tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Our final proclamation this morning is for National Drive Electric Week. If Lori Lawrence is available, the Society of Alternative Resources. Does Lori?
I'm sending a couple of others up.
You didn't want to join us.
I don't want to make it confusing.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we have a proclamation from the City of Wichita, whereas the City of Wichita has a long history of keeping an eye on the brightening horizon for new opportunities and improved quality of life. And whereas Wichita values being a hub for transportation, both personal and commercial, aspiring to travel across town or across our great nation, making the most economical use of resources while reducing the impact on our health and quality of our environment. And whereas National Drive Electric Week recognizes September 14th through the 21st of 2019 will be hosted by Society of Alternative Resources, known as SOAR, on September 21st of 2019 for a free public event at West Star Parking Lot. That's at 100 North Broadway from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jeff Longwell, Mayor of the City of Wichita, along with the Wichita City Council, do hereby proclaim September 14th through the 21st of 2019 as National Drive Electric Week, ICT, in the City of Wichita, and encourage all to drive safe and healthier. And do any of you want to share?
Thank you, Mary Longwell. I'm Kent Rowe, and I'm the former Environmental Quality Chief for Wichita-Sedgwick County, and I can think of no better way to improve public health in this community than to support electric vehicles. Already we're seeing some countries in Europe driving more electric cars and buying more electric cars than fossil fuel cars. Already we're seeing the armed forces adopting the principles of electric propulsion in the not just ground vehicles, but also aircraft, hybridized aircraft, which gives a more reliable takeoff and landing support in critical phases of flight. It is also very important in public health. It's very critical that we at the Sunflower Community Action Air Toxic Youth Group measure under the I-135 bypass pollution that comes from vehicles, diesel and hydrocarbons from gas vehicles. And it is prompting us to get the kids to actually write thank you notes and put them on charging stations and windshield wipers of electric vehicles, thanking them for cleaner air. Thank you all very much, and I hope to see you at the event.
So we don't want to force our friends from the Navy to sit here through the whole meeting. That you're certainly welcome at any time to get up and leave, and you're not going to disturb us. We're going to carry on with the rest of our agenda. We're really glad that you all were able to come into our great city, and we hope you come back often. So thank you all very much. I shared with them as they're walking out that our other military friends at McConnell Air Force Base have a favorite slogan they like to share: here by chance, stay by choice. And I think that just says volumes about our city. So Madam Clerk, you want to call the next item, please?
Lori Lawrence, how to limit single-use plastic bags in Wichita.
Good morning, thank you. I didn't want to confuse everything, so I decided I would let somebody else represent the SOAR.
Wichitans are smart people. They wouldn't get confused.
Thank you. You should have a couple of handouts coming to you. One of them is a letter that comes from the Kansas Sierra Club, who is a supporter of banning or limiting plastic bags. You also have a handout that took a long time to put together. It's a partial list of businesses in the city that do not use plastic bags. There are more that we just haven't found yet. If you know of any, please let me know. Now, thank you very much for allowing me to speak, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. I appreciate your willingness to listen to our proposal. I was born in Wichita and have lived here my entire life. I've been watching the growth of plastic bag litter for more than 35 years. They were first introduced by the petroleum industry into the U.S. in 1982. Hard to believe it was just that recent. With their massive advertising, they managed to convince everyone except my mother that single-use plastic bags were the way to go. When I meet new people who've moved to Wichita, I talk to them. And they remark on the plastic bag usage they find here. They brought their own bags with them from where they moved from. They're not used to seeing this where they're from. And they're shocked at the amount of litter that we have. We've all seen them outside. You've seen bags in trees, bags in the river, bags in the storm drains, plastic bags collected at the wastewater treatment plant, because believe it or not, they get flushed, which was shocking to me. When I was down there visiting, you can see a picture of that on that list of bag-free businesses. I took that picture myself at the wastewater treatment plant. Those are bags in that catch basin that they have. They're all single-use plastic bags. Where do the single-use plastic bags go in Wichita? Most of them go to the landfill. Very, very few of them are actually reused or recycled. Then some of it ends up in the river, and you know that's picked up by the Ark River cleanups, right? Well, not always. Depending on where it washes down during the storms, it may go through one of our lift stations, which I found out in a conversation with Stormwater. The lift stations are designed to shred everything that comes through them. I know. They shred all of this, all these plastic bags, all the styrofoam cups, everything that they can get a hold of is shredded and then released into the Ark River, still in tiny pieces. Those are things that cannot be picked up, but in fact become food for ducks, for fish. Once it goes into the Arkansas River, it goes down to Tulsa, ends up in the Mississippi, where all of Wichita's loose bags empty out into the Gulf of Mexico and then into the ocean. We're contributing to that ocean garbage patch, even from the heartland here. I'm certain that plastic bag pollution is not what you want your visitors to see when they come to this city. This is the city that we all love, and we don't want to put that kind of face forward for them. Plastic pollution was at an all-time high across the country, but now many cities and states are banning or charging for these flimsy plastic single-use bags. To protect our beautiful state and our beautiful city, we need to ban plastic single-use disposable bags. This will be a first step to create the awareness of the need to reduce plastic usage and curtail our petroleum addiction. The tide is turning across the country, across the globe, and it's time for Wichita to step up, look toward a future that will allow our children to thrive and prosper. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Is there any questions?
Don't appear to be any. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Jane Burns, urge oversight of single-use plastic bags.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here this morning to talk about single-use plastic bags, which are kind of the poster child for recycling. Isn't it a good idea to recycle those bags? But in fact, less than 1% of these flimsy bags are recycled. Today we're focusing on just this one item in a trash stream, proposing a fresh approach to this ugliness. We're asking the city council members to establish a task force to reduce trash in Wichita from single-use plastics, and to do that by February of next year. You know, we use so many bags, so let's do the math. The average American family takes home almost 1,500 plastic bags a year, average American family. So take our 390,000 Wichitans divided by 2.5, which is our average household size, and multiply that by 1,500, and that means we use 23 million bags a year just in Wichita each year. 23 plus million single-use plastic bags. In fact, in the grocery store last week, the fellow in front of me had 3 items, and those 3 items were put into 7 bags. Plastic bags are used for an average of 12 minutes. 12 minutes. That's not including the people who throw it right away, you know, in front of the store. These single-use plastic bags take 500 years to decompose, and that converts to trash in our city, in our trees and gutters and rivers. You know, they turn into sails, these flimsy things. So in summary, single-use plastic bags are produced from non-renewable resources, are difficult to recycle, and they do not biodegrade in our lifetimes or in the lifetimes of our grandchildren. You know, my children don't even want our heirloom china. Why should they have to deal with my leftover trash? The national movement to get rid of single-use plastic bags is gaining steam. At least 500 cities and counties and governmental units have already passed laws that ban them or tax them. For example, Hawaii. We have a supporter who's a native Hawaiian, and 6 weeks ago when she went to Hawaii, she was impressed that there was no trash. Grocery stores throughout Hawaii now charge 15 cents for every sturdy bag, which when they are emptied are just rolled up, put in a purse or a pocket, and ready for the next trip. Or you can splurge and pay $1.50 in Hawaii for such cute bags that she bought a whole selection. It's not so hard. Some stores such as Aldi and Costco already have plenty of customers, even though they don't give away these flimsy single-use plastic bags. There are plenty of other alternatives that you can pick up or drop. So we're asking the City Council to form a task force to figure out a Wichita way to reduce trash from single-use plastic bags, and to do that by February of 2020. Hope we can find together a Wichita way to reduce this trash, to clean up our streets, trees, and waterways. Thank you for your attention and your consideration, and we'll look forward to your questions. Thank you so much. Are there any questions now? Right now?
Nope.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Celeste Bogart Rassat, potential historical value of Century 2.
Thank you for letting me speak this morning. I am a native Wichitan who grew up in College Hill and attended Hyde, Robinson, East, KU, and WSU. I am an avid supporter of the arts and currently volunteer for the Women's Association of the Wichita Symphony. My dad, Vincent Bogart, was one of several visionary city leaders who developed the City Library, Century 2, Cheney Lake Water Conduit, and the Big Ditch. He was mayor during the construction of Century 2. I have 4 points to make. First, you all are overlooking a significant economic opportunity if Century 2 is to be destroyed. The city would lose performing arts and tourism revenue during the demolition and construction period. Cultural arts organizations such as Music Theater of Wichita, Wichita Symphony Orchestra, American Guild of Organists, and Ballet Wichita are some of the organizations that use this performing arts space. Where would they go? Out-of-town visitors who tour Allen House in College Hill and Corbin on WSU campus would no longer have Century 2 to add to the visit. Both John Hickman and Roy Varenhorst were students of Frank Lloyd Wright. How many of you city council members know that they were architects on Century 2? I don't see this lost economic opportunity cost in the July 13th cost-benefit analysis for this project. The city would also lose dollars from not selling tax credits from the renovation of a potentially historic property. Second, the loss of this iconic building would be a waste of resources. Both scenario 1 and 2 of this July 13th, 2016 cost-benefit analysis contain prices to renovate or repurpose this space, which are substantially less than the cost to demolish Century 2 and start over. Let's talk about this cost-benefit study. I filed a KORA to find out the assumptions behind scenario 3 and 4, and no one in the city could tell me how a new performing arts center would generate 781 more jobs, generate $6 million in yearly arts performance revenue, or cause successive rounds of respending resulting in hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue dollars. Let's be honest. We cannot compete for national touring Broadway shows. There isn't a market in Wichita for 12 performances sold out of big theater productions. Third, why is this a closed process? I went to the Wichita Boathouse on July 31st expecting an open discussion. It was not. Populist architects talked about their plans to raise Century 2 and develop the area. I went downstairs and sat at an empty table to display Century 2 artifacts from my late father's collection. A group of 4 Riverfront Legacy people made a line in front of me to prevent citizens from seeing my little table display. Tammy Bradley of Bothner and Bradley said I was hijacking the event and told me to leave. She said it was their event, not the city's, and I had no right to stay. Why was my presence sitting at a table so threatening to her? Having spent 30 years of my career as a banker, and 5 of those as a fraud investigator for the FDIC, her behavior was a red flag that she was hiding something. The Riverfront Legacy Group appears to have only one purpose: public relations for the raising of Century 2 and the building of a new art center. I had a telephone conversation with Shelley Pritchard, president of the Wichita Community Foundation. I asked if she knew the architectural significance of Century 2. She said no. I then asked her if she knew about the design elements represented in the building of Century 2. She again said no. Riverfront Legacy folks like Shelley don't care about the significant architectural style of Century 2. Wow, but they do like Post-it notes. And fourth, I want to vote on this. Back in 1965, the citizens of Wichita were allowed to vote on the bond issue for Century 2. They voted for, and Century 2 was built. When are we voting on riverfront development? Citizens have the right to a transparent and accountable city government. When redevelopment becomes a closed, non-voting process, it can turn into a financial fiasco such as Gander Mountain or Water Walk, or the destruction of Meads Corner, a triple historic designated building over 100 years old, now gone to a development group. There is an election in November for mayor. By focusing on redevelopment special interest groups, you are not serving the citizens of Wichita. You are leaving us without a vote, without a say, and without answers with questions about this project. This is not a legacy of visionary leaders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I did want to address some of the comments of the last speaker. The Riverfront Legacy Master Plan is actually open to the public. There are some important dates coming up. There's Urban Exploration September 24th at 5 o'clock, and Wednesday, September 25th at 1 o'clock, where you have an opportunity to tour Century 2, learn more about some of the issues there, and provide some public input. There's also an opportunity right now where those blue boxes are to provide input. And we will have more public opportunities, as well as coming to every district advisory board and breakfast to give input on the Riverfront Legacy Master Plan. This is something we want to engage the entire city on, and we want to make sure we get as much input as possible. So those are public opportunities. We want to keep those up. And you can also go to riverfrontlegacywichita.org and submit more information if you want to.
Can I also add that there's going to be an open public forum on September 17th, Tuesday, at Mary Jane Till Theater. We are paying for it, the citizens of Wichita. You're welcome to come, and we will actually have an open discussion, not Post-it notes, and take tours of Century 2. We will also be selling T-shirts that say Century 2 in order to support our fundraising efforts. September 17th, Tuesday, Mary Jane Till Theater. Thank you.
Are you finished, Brandon? And Councilmember Johnson is the council representative that serves on that group that's looking to receive more input. And I guess you've never heard me talk before. I love Century 2, and I think there's an opportunity to save Century 2 myself, so I appreciate you getting out there. Maybe you and I could have a discussion sometime to see how that could happen. I'm available. You can call my office and we can sit down and talk for as long as you like. So happy to do that. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Mayor, did you want to address James Clendenin's comment?
James.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Mayor, I just want to say I'm also providing another public opportunity at one of my breakfasts in November to talk about the master plan. So it's the first Saturday of November. It's open to the public. There's no agenda, so we'll be talking about the master plan, and that's been scheduled for November. So if the public would like to have input at that time on that, we're making ourselves available.
That's fantastic. Thanks, James.
Yeah.
All right, Madam Clerk, next speaker.
Jessica Mounts, the impact of discarded plastic bags on the Arkansas River and wildlife.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak this morning. My name is Jessica Mounts. I'm actually a resident of Cheney, Kansas. I'm not a resident of Wichita, but I have spent almost my entire life in the Wichita metro area. I've been a Sedgwick County resident for 38 years, and I've spent the last 15 years of my career as an aquatic ecologist and a fisheries scientist working to document the changes in fish populations and promoting public recreation opportunities on the Arkansas River, including working with the National Park Service to designate the Arkansas River as a national water trail. It's my work and my experiences in and on and with the river that bring me here today. The health of our river directly influences both the strength of our Wichita economy and the resilience of our environment. While Native Americans and early settlers saw the abundance of the banks of the rivers and chose to build the communities on her banks, our continued influence on this essential natural resource cannot be understated. Litter pollution across the nation has long been an unresolved issue, but recent research detailing just how many consequences there are to plastic pollution on our waterways, wildlife, and human health continues to build an urgency. The most common pieces of litter found in the Arkansas River in and near Wichita include single-use plastic bags, which can be found in the bed of the river, wrapped around rocks on the banks, and dangling from trees that line our river by the thousands. I want to tell you a story of the first time I took my youngest son paddling on the Arkansas River, and I've paddled thousands of miles on that river over the last 38 years. He hid in the bottom of the kayak as we paddled through a particular area just in the south part of Wichita. And I said, "What are you hiding from?" And he said, "All the ghosts in the trees." And when I looked up, the trees were just covered with plastic bags. And that's continued to shape his life and mine. So the plastics are easily mistaken by wildlife for food. They can entangle birds, fish, and turtles as they enter and flow down the river. And it's easy to wonder where all this trash is coming from, and the simple answer is it's coming from the entire city. One gust of wind or one rain event sends this uncontrolled debris sweeping through our streets and into our storm drains that flow directly into smaller streams and finally into our river. Once the plastic ends up there, it's beaten and stretched and broken down by the natural environment. But even if it breaks down to the point that we can't see it and it's not clogging our storm drains, the plastic still persists in the ecosystem. Microplastics are defined as very small pieces of plastic and largely originate from larger pieces of plastic that are slowly being broken down by the environment. While they're tiny and they're not necessarily noticed by the human users of our waterways, microplastics retain their chemical properties and never completely biodegrade. Plastics have found their way into all of our soils and our water supplies, and they're impossible to remove once they're in place. Research continues to show that plastics can leach potentially harmful chemicals into the water, and furthermore can attract other persistent bioaccumulative and toxic chemicals that can be passed up the food chain via fish, which are frequently harvested by anglers in the city. You may also be aware that there's already a moratorium or a consumption advisory on the Arkansas River here in Wichita. The Department of Health and Environment issues that warning every year to people that are consuming fish caught in the Arkansas River. And these plastics are just adding to the problem. So reducing the household plastic bag use in Wichita stands to be a part of the proactive approach to litter and waste prevention and a tangible way to both improve the ecology of the Arkansas River and the quality of life for the citizens who live around her. I encourage you to form a task force that will create an ordinance to restrict single-use plastic bags in Wichita. And with that, I would take any questions.
Any questions? Doesn't appear to be any.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a renewed enthusiasm for clapping this morning. Madam Clerk, next speaker, please.
Lavonta Williams, how to help Wichita move toward a ban on plastic bags.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'll just put my man bag down because this can be what our gentlemen take to the store to carry their groceries. Good morning to each of you, and thank you so much for allowing us to be with you today. I come before you also asking that we put a task force together so that we can look at the feasibility of putting a ban together. Plastic bags are every place in our community, and they are a hazard to our environment. When we go to purchase groceries, we use plastic bags because they're convenient. In fact, in our modern lives, it's a part of who we are. It's a part of what we do. Have you ever seen someone go to the store and pick up about 5 or 6 plastic bags and only put in about 3 items in one bag? How are those going to be recycled? However, the convenience of the plastic bags at a very high cost to the environment and to our health. So we would ask that we look and see if there's a better way. I have 5 reasons to ask you to look at banning plastic bags. Plastic bags pollute our land, our river, and our communities. They're usually lightweight. As such, they can travel a long distance by way of the water or by wind. The bags get caught up in our trees, in our fences, and in our shrubbery. In other words, they litter our communities. Number 2, plastic bags do not degrade. They just do not break down. And if they do, it takes them quite a while to do that. And all they do is break up into small pieces and again pollute our environment. So I ask you to think of the plastic bags that live on and on and on. Plastic bags are not easy to recycle. They are said to present significant challenge in terms of recycling. Recycling facilities do not have the capacity to recycle plastic bags, and so they don't really want to accept them. Therefore, the actual recycling rate for plastic bags is about 5%. They just don't do well in the recycle. Item number 4, even if we did decide to recycle these bags, the materials still end up in the river or on the streets. Now, I know each of you has a place for your plastic bags in your kitchen or in your home. They tell the honey, go get the bags, take the garbage out, or we use them to pick up poop as our dogs are traveling along the streets. That's not recycling, because that same bag is still going to end up in the street, in the shrubbery, and in the trash, and end up being a consumer in our landfills. So that's not recycling. I have to admit, I have a bag or 2 at home, but we're asking that we look into that. People are ready for the ban as number 5, and it should be looked at and it should be adopted. People have seen how much the plastic bags have an adverse effect on their health and on the environment, and thus we should be looking at a change. As my last stint in the city council, as we had a Save-A-Lot moving down onto Broadway, I sit and I ask them, as James and I were in the same meeting, could they please think about recycling bags? Could they please look at another alternative? They began to charge for the bags. I hope that's not the reason that they're not there, James, but the store did implement some changes. Change is hard, and I understand that. There are those out in the community that will say, it's going to be very hard for me to change. If we think back to 2007 and 2008, when the mayor and I both sat on a task force looking at a smoking ban, we were told the same thing. It's too hard to change. We need to keep smoking in public places. That's not what we want to do. In 2008, we implemented a comprehensive smoking ban. After that, the state followed with even a harsher smoking ban. So change is hard, but sometimes change is necessary in order to help our community. And that's what we do as a city. And that's what we do as a city council and a county commission. We make sure that our city gets the best that it deserves. And we deserve to be looked at as far as our bags are concerned. If anyone would like a man bag, which carries an awful lot and stays open, we'll make sure that you know where to get those man bags. I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions for Councilmember Williams?
Thanks, Mayor. So I didn't want to speak after every speaker because we had a lot today, but I appreciate you all coming and supporting banning plastic bags. And I don't have an issue with an ordinance, but I think this is also a good opportunity before that to start meeting with more business leaders. This is a great list that Lori provided. I'm sure there's more, and maybe there's other businesses that we can talk to see where they're at. I did a social media poll last year where I was blown away that we had a majority of people who actually took that poll that said they wanted to ban plastic bags.
Absolutely.
I was surprised by that. But yeah, I would love to continue this conversation and see if we can get some more businesses in having that.
Absolutely. And we would hope that we could sit down with our city manager soon and have a discussion. Will that work, Mr. Manager? Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Consent agenda items 1 through 15.
Any items on the consent agenda need to be pulled for clarification or discussion? Seeing none, I move that we approve consent agenda items 1 through 15.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Report of Board of Bids and Contracts dated September 9th, 2019.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Hannah Lang, Department of Finance. Today I present to you the Board of Bids report from the September 9th Board of Bids. First engineering bid we have is Silverdale Neighborhood Water Main Replacement, Part B. Recommendation is Mies Construction for $1,521,211. 2019 Sanitary Sewer Reconstruction Phase 7. Dutton Construction and Plumbing for $223,442.50. Paving Sabin Calvert to serve Blue Lake Edition. Recommendation is Pearson Construction for $349,539.50. Water Distribution System to serve Sienna Lake Second Edition. Recommendation is Wilkes Underground Utilities for $43,483. Sanitary Sewer to serve Whispering Lakes Estates Edition Phase 5. Recommendation is McCall Excavation for $163,490. 2019 Sanitary Sewer Rehab Phase C. Recommendation is Municipal Pipe Tool Company for $223,293.25. 37th Street Pump Station Sanitary Sewer Service. Recommendation is Wildcat Construction for $48,729. Paving Pike Edition Phase 1A. Recommendation is Conspec Incorporated for Group 1 of $400,331.50. Group 2 of $191,110 for an aggregate total of $591,441.50. The first purchasing bid we have is Mobile Printers and Hardware. Recommendation is to defer to the September 16th Board of Bids. Dump trucks with spreader and snowplow. Recommendation is Roberts Truck Center for Group 1 base bid of $307,430.36. Option 1 is 0. Option 2 is add $675. Option 4 is a deduct of $37,376. Option 7 is add $195. Group 2 base bid is $289,231. Option 5 is a deduct of $29,376. And option 8 is add $195. Itinerant encampment site removal service. Recommendation is to defer to September 16th Board of Bids. Orchard Park Recreation Center flooring, no bids were received. Trees, ornamental, and shade. Johnson's Garden Center will receive groups 1, 3 through 9, 11 through 19, 22 through 30, and group 33 for a total of $115,614.60. Site 1 Landscaping Supply will, recommendation is groups 2, 10, and 21 for $18,710. DeRee Tree Farm, recommendation is group 20 for $4,400. and Hillside Nursery Incorporated for groups 31 and 32 for $8,150. Fiber repair and cabling projects for the baseball stadium, fire station number 1, and city halls, floors 7th and 8th. Recommendation is Decker Electric for $163,250. Refurbished 2 Pierce truck pumpers. Recommendation is Conrad Fire Equipment for $915,000. 2 skid steer track loaders. Recommendation is Clark Equipment Company for $119,783.34. That's all the bids. With that, I stand for any questions.
A question on the refurbished fire trucks. We were kind of using that as a pilot. Have we received the first one in? So this will,
I don't believe so, Mayor.
so when is the first one?
I think this is the first round of the refurbishing, and these are the bids we received for 2 trucks.
I thought we already did one truck earlier.
No, sir, we haven't. This is the very first round of our refurbishes.
Okay, so this is kind of our pilot to see how
Yes,
that goes.
this is the pilot program, sir.
All right. I don't know why I thought we had already authorized refurbishing.
Talked about it for a while.
We talk about things for a lot before it happens.
We did talk about it during the budget process, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you coming down, Chief.
Sure.
Councilmember Fry?
Thank you. Bob, could you, when I look at the tree budget, looks like it's about $145,000 roughly. How does that compare to last year in terms of budget and number of trees?
Good morning. How y'all doing today? Good. All right, so we looked these numbers up yesterday, and we were actually going to have more trees this year purchased. This year we're going to have 1,370 trees purchased, as opposed to last year was 1,255. So that's an increase of, I think, 115 more trees. We still have some budget left over, which we'll purchase local trees, and that balance is going to be $28,000. So we'll be able to use that $28,000 to purchase additional trees locally.
On top of this bid package?
That's correct.
So bottom line, we're spending a little bit more, but we're also getting a lot more trees than last year.
Actually, we're spending the exact same amount. Last year was $175,000 budget, and this year is $175,000 budget. So we were able to get better bids, and also with that savings, we can purchase some local trees as well.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Johnson?
Thanks, Mayor. I just had a question about Orchard Park. It was just odd to not see any bids on the flooring. Is that normal? What's the process going forward with that?
So when we don't receive any bids, what we do is we take the specifications back internally and see, we'll reach out to some vendors and see why they didn't bid on the particular project, if it was time issue, or if there was some clarifications that we need to do in the specifications. And then what we do is we'll send it back out for bid and hopefully retain some bids back.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Councilmember Plancombe, was your question?
That was my question too.
You and Brandon have some mind link going on? All right. Oh, my goodness. All right, seeing no other questions, I would move that we accept the bids as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Public hearing and approval of KICFA Educational Facilities Refunding Revenue Bonds, Newman University.
Good morning, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Tim Goodpasture with the City's Office of Economic Development. For the record, the item before you today is a request for educational facilities refunding bonds from Newman University. The Kansas Independent College Finance Authority, or KICFA, was created in 2001 through a series of interlocal agreements between cities with independent colleges. The purpose of the organization is to issue bonds for educational facilities for these independent colleges. The governmental entity, in this case the City of Wichita, within which the university resides, has the jurisdiction and is required to hold the public hearing for the issuance of bonds to give people the opportunity to provide input. The 2019 request from Newman University is for a not-to-exceed amount of $12,400,000, which includes $4.2 million to refund 2015 bonds and $8.2 million to refund 2016 bonds. The refundings are being done for an interest rate savings, so a cost savings for the university. There is no cost to the city of Wichita for issuing these bonds. The Kansas Independent College Finance Authority will actually be the issuer of bonds. It is not the city of Wichita. The city is just holding the public hearing. Newman will pay all of the costs of issuance. Triplett Wolf and Garrettson Law Firm will serve as bond counsel, and there is no property tax abatement request because the entity is a 501c3 organization, which has already granted a property tax abatement in its own right. The Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act requires a public hearing for tax-exempt bonds. This requires 7 days' notice in the paper, as well as to the clerk of the Board of Education, as well to the county clerk. And this hearing satisfies that TEFRA requirement. Therefore, it is the staff's recommendation that the City Council close the public hearing and adopt the resolution approving the issuance of the Kansas Independent College Finance Authority bonds and authorize the necessary signatures. Dr. Noreen Carucci, who is president of the university, is here and can answer any questions specific to the university, and I would be happy to answer any questions as well.
Any questions at this point? We'll go out to the public. Anyone like to address the council on this agenda item? I mean, it's always good to put Noreen on the spot. Come up and share. This is one of your last opportunities, short timer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Council, I'm pleased to be here today. We are obviously broadening the City Council's original approval from April 9th to include another series of Newman bonds as our refinancing opportunities have improved. We appreciate your consideration of this matter, and I'll try to answer any questions that you might have, but if I can't, we have counsel with us.
So, no questions, President Noreen Carucci, but I want to just simply say I love the investments that Newman's been making in Wichita on their campus. It absolutely looks fabulous. Certainly one of the best science centers anywhere in the country now.
Thank you.
And it's going to fill a role that's deeply needed, and that's to get more people through that program. You all have an outstanding nursing program and always have, and would expect that you always will, especially with the investments that the university's making. So we appreciate the commitment to Wichita and students that come here from all over the world now. So thank you very much.
20 states and 20 countries this year. So we're very pleased with that, and thank you very much. We are blessed with generous donors who provided the $24.5 million to build and rebuild our facilities. Thank you very much.
Outstanding, and it's going to be sad to see you leave your position, but we know that you're going to still be committed to making our community a better place.
You bet. Thank you very much. I hope you all come to Party on the Plaza and have the mayor and I uncork the champagne for a return to the Renaissance, September 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor, I will turn this over to you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And again, to echo the Mayor's comments about Newman, we're excited to see all the things happening. I'd like to take the recommended action to close the public hearing, adopt the resolution approving the issuance of the KICFA bonds, and authorize the necessary signatures.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Cast your vote. And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you all very much. Madam Clerk, next item.
Public hearing and issuance of healthcare facilities revenue bonds, Presbyterian Manors, Inc.
Again, Mayor and City Council members, Tim Goodpasture with the City's Office of Economic Development. The next item before you is a request for the issuance of healthcare facilities revenue bonds for Presbyterian Manors. Presbyterian Manors is a 501c3 private not-for-profit that is headquartered here in Wichita. It is a provider of independent and assisted living senior care throughout Kansas and Missouri. The City of Wichita has been acting as an issuer of bonds for Presbyterian Manor since 1990. The city acts as the host issuer for projects throughout Kansas because Presbyterian Manor has its headquarters here in Wichita. This has been accomplished through a series of interlocal agreements with these other municipalities. On August 20th of this year, Presbyterian Manors was approved for a letter of intent to issue healthcare facilities revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $53 million. Presbyterian Manors is now requesting the issuance of bonds in an amount not to exceed $53 million. Approximately $31.5 million worth of those funds will be used to refinance outstanding bonds. $17 million will be used to invest in facilities throughout Kansas. $720,000 will be used for a debt service reserve fund. Approximately $1.1 million will be used for the cost of issuance, and $2.6 million will be contingency for a total of $53 million. New money will be invested in improvements to facilities in Ark City, Clay Center, Dodge City, Emporia, Fort Scott, Lawrence, Newton, Olathe, Parsons, Salina, Topeka, and Wichita. Therefore, it is the staff's recommendation that the City Council close the public hearing and place on first reading the ordinance authorizing the issuance of healthcare facilities revenue bonds to Presbyterian Manors, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $53 million and authorize the necessary signatures. Bruce Shogren, who is the president and CEO of Presbyterian Manors, is here and can answer any questions specific to the company, and I would be happy to stand for any questions as well.
Did Bruce bring carrot cake from Presbyterian Manor? So if you haven't tried it, it's really delicious carrot cake. If there's no questions, we'll go out to the public. Anyone like to address the council on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll bring discussion back to the bench. And Councilmember Claycomb, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Appreciate the investment in Wichita and the entire state with those new money projects. So I would move that we take the staff recommended action.
Second? We have a motion and a second, and would just echo that we really do appreciate making investments, and we know it's all throughout the state, but you have a great reputation, and thanks for investing in Wichita. And say hello to my mom. We have a motion and a second. Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Recreation and City Arts Registration Software.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Reggie Davidson with Parks and Rec. Talking with you today about the recommendation for a, am I going the wrong direction here?
I think the new software will work better than this.
That was good. That's good enough.
Just one moment, I apologize, everyone.
It's always the computer's fault in my house.
I can get started as well. I have a hard copy here that we can kind of talk through, and then we get with the soft version when we get started up and going. So Parks and Rec and City Arts and the library all operate currently 3 different software systems and guides that are actually used for Department for Print to distribute our own guides and pamphlets. In July of 2018, a representative from Parks and Rec, City Manager's Office, Library, Finance, and IT formed a team to research the consolidation of services. A consolidation of these guides into one-stop shopping publication was determined to be rolled out in the spring of 2020. An RFP was issued to solicit proposal for a class and facility management point-of-sale system as well. We received 6 companies who we interviewed for it initially. Vermont Systems and Active Networks were given on-site proposals, and out of those 2, one of those particular vendors, Vermont System, was selected as the vendor that we would like to move forward with. Our current provider that we have is Rec 1, who failed to provide the necessary customer service, stability to meet the needs of the Parks and Rec Department, and the transition to RecTrack provides us the system capability and functionality to expand and meet the needs of all 3 departments. The reason that we select Vermont System as the recommended vendor, they have 30 years of experience working with current Parks and Rec departments and et cetera. Also have the flexibility to expand to do ticketing and reporting capability that will meet the needs of all 3 departments. They also provide a full test environment for inputting information, as well as on-site and remote support for the implementation of the software once we move forward with it. Parks and Rec and City Arts will transfer it to the new system, and Library will have their programs listed in the system, but will maintain their registration through their current software system because of some lack of functionality for the support their reading program that they currently have in place. So their current system will help meet that need for them. But they will have all of their programs listed in the joint guide that we will produce, as well as have the programs listed on site in the software system for the community to actually view. We will also have the opportunity with this system to expand to be able to meet the needs of some other departments as well. The system has the capability for us to also use some of the functions that we currently do through Cowtown with the system, as well as with the police training and registration for some of the classes that they offer as well. The initial cost for the system is $102,558, charged into the 2020 when software use begins. Parks and Rec currently pays $30,000 for registration software, and it will increase by $7,644 annually in the approved budget that was amended for 2019. The total cost for the system ongoing support will be $37,644. The contract has been reviewed and approved as formed by the Law Department, and it's our recommendation that City Council approve the contract and authorize the necessary signatures. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
So I have a couple of questions. So how many places around the city within the Park and Rec division will we have computers running with this system on it? How many places do we have today that will need this software?
Currently, all of our rec centers have it.
So what's the total number?
The total number, we'll have roughly about 20 locations when we combine all 3 with Parks and Rec and the other 2 departments as well.
So 20 locations. I see that we get 35 licenses that come with that. It just seems to me that that annual cost is expensive. And then it's just for 3 years. What happens after that 3 years is up?
We have the option to renew the contract at that point. With our current provider, we have a contract that was ending as well that we're using on a month-to-month basis now in the transition. So this is what we could typically do when we do a contract. It's set for a set term, and then we extend it based on what our needs are.
So we anticipate spending probably much more than $207,000 that's listed in this contract. Because I can't imagine year 4 we're just going to cut off support. What's the length of time that this software we plan to use?
Like you mentioned, the initial contract is that 3-year time frame that has the $37,000 that we pay annually. Currently, with the current provider, we're paying $30,000, so it's an increase of $7,000.
No, I get that, but how many years do we think that this software will be viable? 3 years? 10 years?
The current system
27 years?
The current system that we have in place now has been in place since 2012.
And so that's pretty typical, I guess, that we only get about 7, 8 years out of the life of, because I get it, it's changing. So from year 3 to year 7, we're still going to pay $37,000 or $40,000 a year?
Mayor, if I may, I've had experience with this software in the past. They've been around since 2000, and every year they update their software. I think they're going to be around for quite a long time. They've very well known in the industry. They're in a lot of other recreation centers, and so we anticipate them to be around for quite a long time. So I think this is going to be a really good investment for us in the future. I don't think we're going to lose an opportunity to work with them in the future. So when we do come back in 3 years to renegotiate the annual service, I don't anticipate it to be any more than what it is right now.
But we do anticipate using an annual service contract.
Yes.
All right. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you. Quick question, Reggie, as it relates to the library limitations. You've identified some challenges that this system won't allow. Would that be something that we could address with future updates and possibly getting those incorporated into as we continue to work through this?
Yes, that's one of the things that we're looking at as part of this process. We're rolling out into the new system with the guy. We're actually meeting on a quarterly basis, looking at what programs we offer, what goes into the activity guides, and look at ways that we can actually use the system to meet the needs of all of those departments and what other departments' capabilities that we can actually put into the system as well.
Okay. Thank you.
There's no other questions. We'll open it up to the public. Anyone like to address the council on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll move discussion back to the bench. Thank you. Appreciate it. Are there any other questions for staff? Again, I mean, technology is expensive. And I can appreciate it if we feel like this is a much better system to use. Hopefully it won't have any flaws.
It is software.
I'll go ahead and move to take the staff recommended action.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, next item.
2020 Cultural Funding Allocation Recommendations.
Morning, Mayor Longwell, City Council members. I'm Assistant City Manager Dante Martin, and I'm here to present the 2020 Cultural Funding Committee's allocation recommendations. The Cultural Funding Committee was created by City Council in 2005. It is comprised of 11 members, 7 members appointed by City Council, and 4 members appointed by the Arts Council. The committee administers a competitive grant process and makes recommendations to City Council for funding allocations to local artists, arts, and cultural organizations. The Cultural Funding Grant Program includes 3 funding categories: operational grants that help fund operation for 501c3 arts and cultural organizations in Wichita, developing art grants that help fund technical development for 501c3 organizations with annual operating budgets less than $50,000, and artist access grants, which are awarded to professional and emerging artists for professional development. Nearly $4.5 million is budgeted in the 2020 budget for arts and cultural programs. Approximately 90% of this funding goes to cultural institutions, which would be the Wichita Art Museum, Mid-American All-Indian Center, Kansas Aviation Museum, Wichita Sedgwick County Historical Museum, and Museum of World Treasures. Those cultural institutions in our operating agreements and are evaluated and funded through a separate review process. Excuse me, I ahead of myself. The Cultural Funding Committee makes recommendations to the City Council for the remaining 10%. Allocation recommendations are based on a competitive grant application review process. Applications are evaluated based on quality of organization, financial stability, and community impact. This year, there were 33 applicants. Each of the 33 applicants are recommended to receive funding. Each organization that receives funding will agree to provide the city with services detailed in its grant application, expenditure reports, as well as key performance outcome data. The next few slides list the recommendations from the funding committee for each agency that applied. The Exploration Place is recommended to receive $60,535. Music Theater Wichita, $59,275. I won't go through each of them. I'll just highlight a few. Wichita Symphony Society is recommended to receive $57,260. The next slide continues operational grants. Chamber Music at the Barn is recommended to receive $15,433. The Wichita Chamber Chorale is recommended to receive $3,614. Friends of the Great Plains Nature Center is recommended to receive $5,564. Next slide continues operational grants. American Guild of Organists, $542. Opera Kansas, $3,647. Music Theater for Young People, $8,373. Operational grants continued on this slide. The Wichita Grand Opera is recommended to receive $6,957. The Kansas African American Museum is recommended to receive $11,108. The Orpheum Performing Arts Center is recommended to receive $12,150. The committee recommended funding 2 developing arts grants. The Griot Storytelling Institute recommended to receive $1,233. I failed to mention that the Griots are also recommended to receive $1,543 as a part of a cultural an operational grant. The Wichita Jazz Festival is also recommended to receive $5,000 developing art grant. This slide lists the 7 artist access grants, $1,000 each to the first 5 artists listed. I would list the names, but a couple of them are challenging, so they're listed on the slide. As well as 2, Bruce Van Ostel and Trish Van Ostel, recommended to receive $700 each in an artist access grant. Recommended action is to approve the 2020 funding allocations recommended by the Cultural Funding Committee for Arts and Cultural Organizations. I'm here for questions, as well as Mary Eves, who is the chair of the funding committee, and Bernadette Bradshaw, who is staff support for the funding committee.
Questions? Would someone remind the community what the artist access dollars are used for? What those artists are using those dollars for?
So in their grant application, they identify opportunities for professional development. So these are emerging artists that are looking for opportunities to develop professionally and need funds to help do that.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll go out to the public. Anyone like to address the council on this agenda item? Mary Eves like to address the council on this agenda item. No, I'm kidding. I won't put you on the spot.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
You are, but we're fine, Mary. We appreciate you.
And so we do really appreciate the support of each and every one of you. It's quite important to these organizations in carrying out their mission and for capacity development.
All right, thank you, Mary. No other speakers will bring discussion back to the bench. And this truly has been a difficult process every year. I guarantee you organizations come out of here with hurt feelings every year. Every year. Someone feels like they got slighted, maybe for a wide variety of reasons. It's not an easy task. I understand the task is so demanding that the person I appointed has decided she's had enough. And no, I don't think that's why she decided. But it's a challenging process for us to take limited funds and divide them up to some great organizations. We're fortunate to live in a community that has, one, an opportunity to spread some funds around, because not a lot of communities have that opportunity like we have, and 2, to have so many quality cultural arts programming in our community. And I'm not sure we fully appreciate all that we have, but we're very fortunate. Councilmember Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the positive side of that, I'd like to recognize that there were 5 organizations this year that applied that did not apply last year, that received funding. So that's 5 new opportunities to continue to add cultural enrichment to our community. We also had a new developing arts allocation, and then 6 new developing artist access grants. So while there may be some hurt feelings, there's also some very happy people that are now able to develop their skills and abilities. I also want to thank the members of the Cultural Funding Committee. As you said, it's difficult. I know they put a lot of time and effort into it. They take it very seriously. It's all ranked and scores and very defined reasons as to who gets grants and who doesn't. So I know they put a lot of effort into it, and I just want to thank them.
Great job. Councilmember Claycomb.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to add my thanks to the committee. I know that this is a difficult job, but I understand that, and I really appreciate the feedback that's provided to us to help us understand how the decisions were made. So thank you, Mary, and thank you for the team that does that.
Absolutely. I am just a little disappointed that while we were having some technical difficulties and delays that someone didn't break out in song and dance. We've got the cultural arts people here today. My goodness.
We'll do that when you adjourn.
All right, I would, if there's no other discussion, I would move that the council approve the funding allocations recommended for the arts and cultural organizations by the Cultural Funding Committee.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Tyler, next week, get the sound fixed so that people understand the rules. Madam Clerk, next item.
Patio space lease agreement at Nafsker Park.
What's that? Yeah, Councilmember Johnson.
Hey, Troy, before you get started, I would like to move that we defer this item to October 1st council meeting so that we can have time to work out some of the issues in this agreement.
I would second that deferment. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to defer this to, you said, the October
1st.
October 1st meeting. Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, next item.
Approval of travel for Mayor Longwell to attend the League of Kansas Municipalities meeting in Pittsburgh, Kansas, September 12th and 13th, 2019.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the travel for Mayor Longwell to attend the League of Municipalities in Pittsburgh.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Thank you both. Any discussion? Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Councilmember appointments and comments.
Any appointments to be made today? Any comments? Councilmember Tuttle was awfully quiet today. You'd think she was saved up for at least one comment.
She doesn't have a voice right now.
She can't talk, she lost her voice.
Oh, my Lord. Now today is truly a day to celebrate.
This is the applause and dancing.
This is when the applause and dancing should kick in. That's outstanding. It is great to see you today. Well, we're not done yet. We do have an executive session, actually only one executive session today. So we need to, I move that the City Council recess into executive session for, we're saying 30 minutes, that will return, let's give us no earlier than 11 a.m. That gives us time to transition. And the session's needed for legal consultation with city attorney, which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship or potential litigation. It's required to protect attorney-client privilege, and we will return to these chambers no earlier than 11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Cast your vote. Motion passes unanimously. Should have had Becky lead us in the pledge today.